The path of sannyas is not a path to be taken only by those who have already overcome all of their desires. If that were the criterion, I don't know whether we'd have more than a very small handful. We would then only be able to have those who literally were born enlightened. Those like Puja Swamiji, who from the age of 8 announced to their families that they want to be a Swami. We would be limited, severely limited, if in order to take sannyas you had to already be free of all of that which we renounce. When you decide to take sannyas, what it means is, I recognize I'm human. I recognize I have desires. But I also recognize that I am not the desires. And I recognize that the chemical, the electrical, the hormonal, the habitual, the mind, all of these poles in my body, that they're not me. And they're certainly not the master of me. The decision to take sannyas is a decision that says, I want to dedicate my entire life, every minute, every moment, to getting closer to God, to serving God, to being a vehicle, a vessel for the divine will to flow. And therefore, I never want to be distracted from that by a pull of a hunger or a yearning or a desire that isn't in line with what my ultimate goal is. Because so many of those carnal desires, when we fulfill them, we feel fulfilled for how long? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, few hours, and then it's back. It's not like fulfilling it once, then you're set for life. The desire just keeps reappearing and reappearing. And this is why the teachings say desires can actually never be filled. And this is just as true for carnal desires as for desires for more money, desires for more fame. Whatever it is that I'm desiring, that I think through fulfilling that, I will be happy. Whether I'm yearning for a chocolate cake, or I'm yearning for a bottle of vodka, or I'm yearning to have sex with someone, or I'm yearning to make $1 billion, whatever it may be. All of those yearnings have within them this idea that somehow once I have that, then I'll be happy. But what we all know is, it isn't true. Once you have it, well, you just want it again. A few hours later, a few days later. Once you make the first billion, you just want the second billion. And until you've made the first one, everybody thinks, no, really, I would be the guy happy with 1 billion. Really, I would be the one done after that. But what that would mean is that you were the one who wasn't under the pull of that very human desire. So don't be afraid of your desires. To say, I'm worried that my carnal desires will overpower me, begs the question, well, who's powering the desires? I mean, that implies somehow that they've got a life of their own. that there's a battle in you between somehow a being who is desire, who's going to overpower the you. But that isn't the case. The desires are just this very fascinatingly complexly woven tapestry of our physical chemistry, so hormones, our chemical and electrical patterns in our brain that we call thoughts, the culture we come from, our sanskaras, the way that we've been raised, our particular mood in that moment. Are we frustrated? Are we bored? Are we annoyed? Are we tired? Are we hungry? All of these things are threads that weave in together to the tapestry that actually makes the desire. But they're not some supernatural, super powerful force that somehow is more powerful than you. Through the spiritual practices that we go through, you learn to control the mind. You learn not to be a slave to it. And it doesn't mean that desires don't come. Becoming a sannyasi doesn't mean that you're no longer human, but it just means that you have found the ability, you've developed the ability to sit in the presence of a desire without acting on it, to sit in the presence of a thought or a feeling, an emotion, a chemical internal reaction without being a slave to it. This is why, for example, we engage in practices of fasting. When you're fasting, the stomach and the mind are going, food, 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 give me food, I'm so hungry. But you don't eat because you're fasting. There are nights that we stay awake all night in meditation and japa. The body, the mind are screaming, let me sleep, I'm so tired. But you don't, because you're staying awake. And all of these trainings teach the mind, yeah, there may be all kinds of screaming, all kinds of clamoring. But hey, look, I don't have to give in. My mind is screaming to eat, but I know I'm fasting, so I don't eat. And I'm still here. Like I haven't exploded or imploded or dissolved. The desire hasn't killed me. The mind, the body saying sleep, 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 but I'm still sitting here chanting my japa. I'm still here. I haven't given into it. It hasn't killed me. I haven't exploded or imploded or dissolved. And in the same way, the urges, the sexual urges, it's the same thing. They come. And you recognize it. But in the same way that you say, no food, I'm fasting. Or no sleep, I'm staying awake. You say, no. I've chosen sannyas. And it's that simple. It's not easy. Simple doesn't mean easy. But it really is that simple. And what you recognize is that everything is energy, including carnal desires, including sexual energy. It's just energy. And there's practices to learn, to actually take that energy. It's not about repression by any means. It's not about pushing it away or pretending it's not there. But it's about being able to recognize and allow that energy to be in the body, but then to harness and to channel that energy spiritually. They're beautiful practices. So don't be afraid of the natural energies of your body. And by no means think of yourself so small that you think that you are a slave to them. You're not. Swami means master. Sannyas is the path of becoming the master of your mind and your life.